First up, we've got two wonderful presenters from Autodesk, Amy McKee and Matthew Jeffery, to tell us a little bit about their journey at Autodesk, implementing some really forward-thinking recruiting practices. And then following that, we've got an outside speaker by the name of Doc Henley, who's going to tell us a really inspiring story. But first of all, I want to introduce Amy McKee and Matthew Jeffery to all of you. For those of you that don't know these two, they've done a lot of work thinking about the future of recruiting. In fact, they've published a couple of very thought-provoking papers. One's called Recruiting 3.0, Recruiting 4.0. And today, you're going to hear it first, their version of Recruiting 5.0. And in doing that, they're going to tell you a little bit about their adventure at Autodesk and the successes and the challenges and some of the failures that they learned in implementing 3.0 and 4.0. On all of your chairs is an excerpt of the Recruiting 5.0 work that they've done. And tomorrow morning on the LinkedIn blog will be the full 90-page published report of Recruiting 5.0. Please join me in welcoming our first keynote of the afternoon, Amy McKee and Matthew Jeffery.
Thanks, Steve. Hello, Vegas.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, there's a little bit of energy post-lunch. So, Steve, we love Steve Cadigan. He's a real recruitment legend, and here he is in his fine glory as Prince, and he'll be doing tonight his own version of Purple Rain. So give it up to Steve. Purple rain, purple rain. So we love a little bit of banter with Steve. So let's start this presentation with a big, bold, banging opening statement. No company in this room and outside of this room has mastered the new social media, employment branding. Not one. But what's great, it's kind of fun taking these giant leaps and trying new things. And that wasn't me in the Olympics, by the way. So why is there this need for a whole new recruiting? Where do we start? What do we need to do? And what are the things driving for us? So the first thing is that we have to recognize that change is coming. There's a lot of different momentum out there, which makes our jobs harder. This cheesy term, the global war for the top talent. We can hire mediocre talent, but it's all about hiring the top talent, and we're all aggressively fighting each other to find those people. We're competing, we're racing, we're fighting, and all of us in the room are up for that fight. Also key is to remember that experienced talent pool. The people who can immediately come into our business, hit the ground running and make a difference, those people are falling in short supply, and we're out there trying to compete to get them. What else is happening out there? We're all converging in the industries and the people that we're trying to attract. In the old days, it was the silos. IT would focus within the IT industry, consumer goods in their own industry. And now, if we want a marketing director, we will go to any industry. So we're all fighting in the converging areas for the top talent. And what are we also seeing? Company loyalty is diminishing. The average person is spending less than 2 years in a role. That's the fluid and active job market, particularly amongst top talent. Now, in-house recruiting. Most of us in here are in-house. What are the things we're introducing? Obviously, all the classics of referral schemes, introducing ATSs and CRM tools, using social media and employment branding, all of these things that can give us a competitive advantage than going out to agencies and some of the job boards. Because what do we have? We have recruiters who can sell our organization with a real passion and get out there and represent what we're all about. We're also facing changing demographics. We're working longer, retiring later, and there's more graduates coming into the market trying to find jobs, and this affects our talent pool out there. And what else? There are so many solutions. Technological solutions to the left and the right of us. CRM tools, ATS with bolt-ons. And then we've got the rise of the different new futurologists, the consultants, trying to sell us different solutions. The interesting thing about social media is have a look at some of the so-called futurologists and their background. Look at the LinkedIn profile, and you'll see some of their skills and the fact that social media can make stars of people who don't have the right experiences. So as we sit in this room today, Our competitors are attracting and fighting to get hold of our talent. They're being called and headhunted as we speak right now. Lazy recruiters are out there damaging the great profession that we work in, focusing on job boards, just using agencies, not getting out there and being proactive. And even more shameful are some recruiting leaders are not adapting to the new technologies, the new social medias, employment branding, and just letting it drift along and damage our profession. I'm sure many of you out there know recruiting leaders like that. So who says recruiting is easy? It's not easy. It is a science. It is an art, and what we do is cutting edge for our companies. At times it feels like we need 6 arms. So given all of these variables, given the challenges that we face, we need to change. We need to be sharper, more clever, and really get out there and attract the top people to our business and get ahead of our competitors. And yet our goal as recruiters has not changed. It never will change. It is to hire the best talent. But ultimately, the utopia is that predictable talent pipeline. When we know that when a hiring manager says that I need X, we can turn that pipeline because we have those relationships. We built them up and bang, the hiring manager gets that list straight away. That is our goal.
And adding to all of these challenges is Autodesk. We have our own set of challenges. Autodesk's biggest challenge is we're not a big consumer brand. So a lot of you may have heard of us, but we often joke we're one of the best kept secrets. Definitely not something you want to aspire to when you're trying to recruit the best talent. So who is Autodesk? We're a San Francisco-based software company. Go Giants, for those fans out there. We are a 3D design, engineering, and entertainment software company. So our customers use our software to design buildings, bridges, airplanes, films, and games. The past 17 Academy Award winners for the best visual effects used Autodesk software. They're using our software to visualize DNA strands to come up with cures for cancer. Some pretty cool, impactful stuff. And we also do have a lot of consumer products like Home Styler, Sketchbook Pro, Pixlr. So lots of great stuff, but again, it's that awareness in the market. Compounding that is we are moving and shifting our products over to cloud, mobile, social platforms. A lot of people think of Autodesk as the traditional desktop software company, but we're so much more. And as we're competing for talent with the likes of LinkedIn, Twitter, Salesforce, all the people who are doing this technology, how do we get our story out so people know, hey, we're doing that cool stuff as well, and get that cream of the crop talent? So again, our goal, we want to attract these new skill sets, but how do we differentiate ourselves and offer something unique?
So let's get back to that new recruiting that we talk about. So how many of you have heard and seen the Recruitment 3.0? So there's quite a few hands going up. The core things that were involved in that are not rocket science. And the key things that were pointed to, that not everyone is looking for a job. Everyone is a potential candidate or brand ambassador. Employment brand is pivotal to the success of a business. Candidate experience is more than that bounce-back email that someone gets when they send in a resume to our database. It's about understanding the psychology of people. They're conversational, they're social, they like to chat, all of those key things. About building relationships and community, and content is king. And we're going to apply that to what we've been doing at Autodesk. On top of that, we talked about Recruitment 4.0, ideas of crowdsourcing, gamification, agencies going away, and companies getting global reviews based on their employees and people outside. All exciting new things that will come down the line. So let's see what works for us and how do we apply some of that to Autodesk.
So again, as for everyone in the room, employment brand is pivotal to our success. So how do we stand out from the crowd? What are the differentiators? A brand is not something that you can create. It's someone's gut feel or interaction with an organization, how the employees are treated, how the candidate experience. So it's not some corporate speak that you can just say, we're this. It's something that just evolves from the inside. So employment brand, it's not about sexy advertising, creating logos, or fancy mission statements. We all create employment brands. We can try to position, message, or influence it, but again, it's about the experience our employees have, or candidates have, or consumers have interacting with our brand. It starts with the way your employees feel about the business, what they say, making sure you're truly a great place to work, and then your employees become your brand ambassadors. They spread the word, it becomes viral.
So the interesting thing is that how do we bring this back to real life? Recruitment is very much like dating. It's that building relationships, being honest, trusting, engaging, building up that knowledge of the other person, seducing them into our ideas and our views. And that's key to remember. So the question is that employment brand messaging, and that's a key thing, how do we differentiate from each other? It feels like at the end of the day, what is the EVP of any of the top Fortune companies out there, the top 500? Could you articulate it and say what makes those companies great? And most likely, very few of you can do that. It's like going into a supermarket and seeing a load of blank shelves. And that's what employment brand messaging feels like in the current marketplace.
So again, as I said, employment brands start from the inside out. It's about the real experience your employees are having. You need to nurture your employment brand, and you need to provide the best experience and conditions for your employees. Again, it needs to be authentic. No amount of corporate spin or marketing can create a brand. The worst thing is to put something out there that your employees don't experience. It's going to backfire, especially in this day of social media. You will be found out if you're putting out something that you're not. As evidence, there's Glassdoor, which is kind of the go-to for candidates or employees to see what is the real experience. What are people saying? People take this as truth. So if you are really a truly great place and treat people well, people will say it, and other people will go read that, and it will be the truth. Again, lay down the foundations for a good internal brand, and then that's the first start. So Autodesk. Why Autodesk? What differentiates Autodesk? What we hear from our employees is people are inspired by our cool, innovative products, the reach we have. Like I mentioned earlier, our former CEO used to say, if God didn't build it, Autodesk software probably did. It's amazing the reach of our products. Also, our products enable designers around the world to build more sustainably and really make a difference in the world in solving important design challenges. So we hear from our employees, again, that differentiates Autodesk. And also the way we treat people, and we have a fun work environment as well. Quickly going through some examples, we recently held a global corporate challenge where we gave everybody little Fitbits, and they would get on teams and compete with each other to see how many miles they could log each week. So that went on for about 16 weeks, and it was super fun for the whole company to get engaged. We have Kids at Autodesk Day, where you can bring your kids. They can see your work environment and your colleagues, and just really fun, being real and engaging. Matthew and his team over in London did the go-karting with the Formula One drivers. We have a global football competition in Italy, which I think is soccer in the US. So we have teams from all over the world go to Italy and compete for the Autodesk Cup. We recently did a My Autodesk photo competition, so really getting our employees to take pictures of what Autodesk means to them, just with their BlackBerries or iPhones, just going around and seeing from our employees' perspective what it means to work at Autodesk. What do they value, and what do they see? Our CEO is very visible, and he was out celebrating, drinking some champagne, toasting that Autodesk was on Fortune's 100 Best Places to Work list. He regularly holds meetings with employees, Coffee with Carl talks, where he'll sit down and really hear and listen from employees and ask questions unfiltered, or answer questions unfiltered in small groups. Also in our in our San Francisco location, he sits in the cubes amongst everyone else. He's not behind some walled office in the back. Office curry nights. You can bring your dog to work at our corporate headquarters in San Rafael. And then fun use of office space. We have dry erase boards everywhere. We'll frequently do A to Z games where people walking by, going to get their morning coffee, will put maybe the game will be movies. So you A to Z, write down different movies, and just fun things like that that really engage the employees and become a fun place to work. Autodesk flash mobs pop up from time to time. And the Queen even stopped by to celebrate the Jubilee. So obviously, that's not really her, but the office made a fun time of it, making a cake, and everyone just rallied around that and had a lot of fun. We have Interns, a structured intern program where they're coming in and infusing our business with new ideas. We had a student design competition, designing the next Ferrari supercar with our software products. And again, constant global communication with our intranet, and we also leverage Salesforce Chatter, which is an internal social networking site where employees can ask each other questions and engage with one another. And it's actually a great use of crowdsourcing as well, where someone will throw out an idea and people will chime in, and that idea can become reality. We actually came up with the Autodesk vision statement via crowdsourcing, which I thought was brilliant. The employees voted and got engaged and gave ideas, and that's how we came up with our Imagine, Design, and Create a Better World vision statement. We have our annual engagement survey, so it's really about listening to the employees, taking that feedback, and then making changes based upon that feedback so that you're staying focused to make sure that employees are having a good experience. In all the activity, what's the result or measurement? Being a great place to work. So I imagine many of you are on these lists, and what we're very proud of is that most of them, it's not just a third party saying, hey, you're a great place to work. It's really based on employee feedback and surveys. And so that's really the employees speaking that they feel that it's a good place to work. So.
And you can see there from exactly what Amy's saying, is it's about nurturing those conditions to make it a great place to work. So our employees get out there, tell people what it's like. We win those great place awards, etc. And that's key for us. As part of this is all about humanizing the brand. What's it like behind the corporate iron curtain? What does the company do? Who are the individuals? And showing them how they get into the positions in a more relaxed way. And as we message and we communicate, it's about showing those staff, not in corporate suits, smiling at cameras with ties, petrified a bus is going to hit them any minute. It's about being in the natural environment, casually, and showing that more human element of the company. So now let's reply back. We've got employment brand down, and we're showing that building it from the inside out is key. So in the new recruiting, as we talked about in 3.0, the basic is that not everybody's looking. Only 10% of the jobs market at any one time are registered on agencies, looking at job boards. That's a whopping 90% of people who are out there who are not looking. They're passive. But let's get rid of that term passive. I think we need to start to realize is that everybody is active, and I'm going to give you an example of that in a second. So like most companies in this room, we have our sources out there, pinpointing, sniping, working out, organogramming, mapping companies where the best talent is and reaching them. As part of this identifying, building communities is key, part of the 3.0 as we said before. Now communities can feel like a lot of buzzwords and can be feeling pretty sort of, what does it mean? What's the intensity of this direction? So let's differentiate that. The small blue circle is again the active pool. The large green one is the passive pool. Who's focusing on the active pool? Generally the recruiters, because they're active and sending their resumes in. Look at the rest of that. The sourcing team identifying and sniping in to that top talent in the overall pool. And then the e-branders, the employment brand messengers, either sniping and using messaging to particular talent, or messaging as a whole to that whole passive pool and reaching out and building an employment brand message. But we put today that let's combine that term passive and active, and let's call it pactive. Those people who are not looking for a job, I say to you, is that if they get the right message and the right call from the company, any company with the right proposition, they can immediately be turned into active candidates. So let's differentiate and say pactive. 90% of the people are just waiting to turn active. Not everyone is going to be a candidate. They don't have the right skills, but they can become brand ambassadors and celebrate what our company does. And it's key not to forget about those people, particularly those people on our database and our ATS. Our job as recruiters is to create candidates, not to wait for them to come to us. Now let's get back to that definition of community. I'm going to sort of use a very basic communities for dummies definition. Let's say there's two types: the corporate community, the manufactured community, the Autodesk, the Pepsi, the Nike. All of these different communities are being put together for various means. Could be sales, could be marketing, could be crowdsourcing, could be recruitment. But we're trying to manufacture and get all these people interested into our areas. The second type of community is the organic community, where they form around general interests, not driven by companies. So what general interests? Could be Java professionals, could be marketeers, and we see a lot of these communities on LinkedIn. So how do we build one of these manufactured corporate communities? It's about getting out and targeting the right people to come into our community. And we'll talk about where these people can come from. Our sourcing team can pull in and pinpoint those people. The ATS, sitting there with 500,000 names, 1 million, whatever, these are people not to be forgotten. They've already voted for your company. They're there to be messaged to engaged, to be used for crowdsourcing of referrals, not to be left rotting there, festering. And there's different ways, as you can see, and you can read about this further in the paper online, but it's up to us to generate and be proactive. It's not about putting up a Facebook page and hoping a lot of people click like at the end of the day. That's meaningless. It could be 300,000 school children that we're not going to hire. Maybe down the years, yes, but it's again seeing the value of what we actually try to do. So crowdsourcing, that's key. There are so many potential communities and crowds out there. It may feel like a buzzword, but look at LinkedIn. Look at the different discussion groups out there that we can get amongst, either messaging, joining in the conversations. Our sources can get out there and then identify who's active. We can throw out there, we are looking for XYZ names to come into our company. That's a great source of what we're trying to do. You can look at Java professionals of many hundreds of thousands of people on LinkedIn, or a talent puddle. You can have Java professionals based in San Francisco, a smaller area you can message and control. So there's some exciting stuff. But as and when you start to build your communities, the key learning that we've had is about targeting, not about creating a random list of names of people clicking and commenting. It's about let's get the right people involved who could have value to us down the line. I'm going to put to you something which can be controversial. Recruitment can be boring. Recruitment messaging can be boring. Can you imagine publishing just a list of jobs hyperlinked back to your career site? Is that engaging? Is that interesting? But that's what's happening. Content has to be key. It has to be king, about humanizing, revealing behind the brand. How do we engage those communities? How do we get them together? We can have mobile apps, obviously Facebook, the Twitter page, LinkedIn discussion groups and communities, YouTube community, a blog site. There are so many communities we can start to put together, but making sure it's not just a random collection of names. Gamification is a huge passion of mine. I came from EA, but it's not. Gamification is not about just adding a game to your site. It's about learning about the principles of video games and what causes someone to come back and have one more play. And what sort of things come into that sort of category? You can read about this in the paper, but there's ideas that people want it to be social. They want to share it. They want to compete. They want to know what's going on, see Easter eggs in the site. And there's a whole huge range of things we can learn from gamification and add to our recruitment communication out there. Simple things like the progress bars, all good stuff that we can do and part of our communications. So applying this back to Autodesk, yes, we created a game because Amy said not everybody has heard about our company. So how do we get people to realize, wow, the power of their software can create imagery which is almost photorealistic. In fact, it's very difficult to tell between the two. Hence fake or photo. Again, we put out on Facebook and out into our communities that we challenge people. Is this real? Is this fake? A number of photos that people can compete and share. That's just part of our offering. But that content I'm talking about, it's about having fun and revealing behind the brand, Brenda, who's over there, she had a sabbatical. She came back in, and the office wrapped up her entire desk. The pens, paper, calculator, everything you can see. She came back, but that shows the culture. So why not show that to people outside of the business? Because that's a far better insight than just a corporate picture or a headshot. We like to dress up. We all love dressing up. I've seen some of you guys in the bar dressed up. And we like to show that out in our communities. This is Tony dressed up as Halloween, but the reality looks pretty much like that anyway as well.
So Matthew was going to dress up as Elvis today, but he decided not to, but maybe later we'll see him at the party in his Elvis costume. So let me introduce you to some of the Autodesk communities. So as you know, people are naturally social. They love to talk. So how are we engaging our communities? We have a Facebook site, as I'm sure many of you do here. But our goal with Facebook, again, is not to put out the corporate content of here's what we're doing, corporate messaging. It's about that engagement element, as Matthew mentioned. We may put out a post like, here's my commute to work. What does yours look like? Send in pictures. So really that fun element, humanizing the brand again. We do stream our jobs to our Facebook site just because people are there, but that's not our main goal for our Facebook site.
So let's ask, raise your hands if you found your current job through Facebook. Wow, I've got glasses on, but I can't see anybody there, Amy, and there you go.
I saw one, I think.
Okay. Now raise your hands if you were looking for a job today, you would use Facebook to find your next job. And again, that's the interesting thing.
So that's what we think, too, and we're not finding our candidates on Facebook. It's not about bums-on-seat recruiting. We've heard that may work for some industries, like bartenders or high-volume recruiting, but for the types of niche positions we're looking for, that's not our best source. So again, our strategy is focused around engaging people in our brand, giving them insight into Autodesk, and taking them on a journey. The principle of Recruitment 3.0, that we're not in control of what people are saying. You just need to get out there and start talking to people and not be afraid, because people can come back with some interesting comments, but you just need to get involved in the conversation, be real, and answer them, and I think you're going to earn a lot more trust and credibility with your communities. Here's our Autodesk Twitter. We have about 50,000 followers there. And again...
So let's ask this question. Now, how many of you would follow a Twitter page with just a list of jobs hyperlinked back to a corporate career site? Very few yet again. So the interesting thing there is that why are companies just producing a list of jobs back to their career site? Where's the engagement? Where's the interest? You have to be, unless you're looking for a job, fundamentally dull to look at a load of jobs on particular sites and their Twitter feeds. It's about that engagement and that communication.
And then we also have our Autodesk YouTube channel where we have employee videos, and our goal this year is to get a lot more content. Autodesk recently purchased a company called SocialCam, which is an online video sharing service. So we want to have a contest and get our employees engaged about creating employee videos. What is it like to work at Autodesk? What fun things are they doing? Again, humanizing the brand, but also using one of our products, which will be really fun. We have our LinkedIn corporate page where we share a lot of ideas, and I'm really excited about the new product LinkedIn announced this morning with the Talent Brand Index. I'm looking forward to using that. And we have our LinkedIn discussion groups as well, where we can engage with people there. We also have a blog site, an Autodeskers blog, Community of Talent, where we have short stories about products, people, view from our office. You know, we have 100 offices around the world, so we'll take different snapshots and post them up there. So again, fun, engaging content mixed with some product stuff as well. Glassdoor, we have our corporate page on Glassdoor where we post fun photos and pictures as well while people are coming in and commenting about Autodesk as a place to work. We have our SEO strategy where we're driving that part of the small active talent pool out there. We do purchase, keywords to drive traffic back to our site, as well as having a SEO site where we pull our jobs out of our ATS so they get indexed by the big job search engines. We also, for those of you who went to the university recruiting session this morning, I know Jenny from Autodesk talked about our new university recruiting check-in app, which is pretty cool. It allows students at career fair or university fairs to be able to just check in at the Autodesk booth so that they immediately get put into our talent pipeline. So very excited about that.
So let's look at the next big buzzword, or it is the current buzzword in many ways.
The current buzzword.
We're saying about going mobile and communities going mobile. So a lot of you will realize that there's a huge ballooning number of people out there with mobile phones and smartphones, and the stats don't lie. It's just such a huge opportunity for us as recruiters to get out there and to really start to make a difference. So this is where we're going to be very realistic. Some of you guys know that we've been working on a mobile app for some time and seen various articles on it. So this has been a challenge, not because of the developers, all the top bananas in the UK, a brilliant, brilliant company, but the key thing for us is we only get one chance to launch this and to get it out there, and if people are not interested, the chance of them going back to it and downloading it again in the future is pretty slim. So key that we were looking at, how do we create something that causes someone to download it but keep coming back and engaging, and it's not deleted off at any moment in time? So let's have a look at the Autodesk app and what we're trying to do. Focused on engagement. This is the home screen. Now, obviously it has recruitment on the go. People can do job search, people get the job alerts based on the skills, experience, geography, etc. You expect that on the tin. That's not going to engage if you're a passive job seeker. You're never going to go back to it unless you're looking for a job, so that's just the automatic basics of recruitment. Then, of course, there's the About Us section. You can call it the corporate spin, all of the information that we want to get across. Are you going to go back to that on a regular basis? No, because it's just an information static area. But this is where it starts to get interesting. Let's humanize the brand. Let's get those pictures of employees in their natural habitat and having fun, and ask them the questions and answer in their own answers, not corporate spin. And critically for us, this is key, a one-stop shop place of social media aggregation. This is the reason that people would want to keep this app on their phone or on their iPad. They will then be able to engage in all of our communities in one place. They can join in the conversation on Facebook. They can join in the conversation on Twitter. They can join in the conversation on our blogs. They can see exactly what we're doing. They don't have to leap to lots of different sites. Now we're starting to get that reason of thinking, wow, somebody's not just going to download this and then in a couple of weeks delete it because they want a little latest Britney Spears video player on there, etc. This gives us a real reason now. But also we need more. So again, we've added the game, etc. The gamification to reinforce our brand, to reinforce the quality of our software and the products. So you can see there's some of our thinking about engagement. And key for us was we will delay and delay until we're happy with it. And you'll see this out within the next month. We said that a couple of times in the past, but we're now happy with where we're at.
And then again, our corporate career site, about last year, we looked at it and said, gosh, this needs to go. So if any of you rush out to look at our career site now, you will see that it is still not humanized. So we said we need to redo it and get the insight look into our people, just like we're doing in all of our social channels. We were hoping to reveal it to you today, but no. It's been a long journey. We've met with multiple creative agencies, and they just really haven't understood what we were trying to get to. Everything would come across still too corporate, or they didn't get that engagement, that gamification element. So we are very close to getting there, but we wanted it to be really fun. We have an app in the iStore that's one of the top-selling apps called Sketchbook Pro. So how can we maybe create a game out of our product and have people upload their art creations they created with our product and make a leaderboard, make some fun game out of it, mess up the pictures, don't make them so corporate looking. We also have a product called Pixlr where you can add funky things to different pictures and photo treatments. So we're looking at how do we use our products to kind of do fun things with our pictures. So that should be launching in the next month or so. Another issue for us is just around the ROI and metrics. You know, we have data in so many different different systems and areas. How do we get a consolidated dashboard? What are the right metrics to measure? How are you measuring your branding efforts? So again, I'm really excited about the talent index, because we will definitely leverage that. And LinkedIn, I'm loving the price on that. Thank you. We also, we've been trying to use Radian 6 to do our online monitoring of our reputation, our brand reputation out there, and what people are saying. So really, our goal in the upcoming months is how do we consolidate that data and make sure we're measuring the right things so we can demonstrate our results back to the business.
So here we come to the part where you've got the initial paper in there. We're putting out some thoughts on Recruitment 5.0. This is the final paper that we're doing on this. It brings that trilogy all together. You'll be able to find that online. You'll see it published on ERE tomorrow. Debate with us, put your comments, and we look forward to that. You may completely disagree with some of it, and if you do, we're hoping that you come up on stage next year and you guys will be presenting it. So you can read the paper, but what are some of the things in there? It's about big data, all of that personal data that's being held about people up in the cloud. Our personal DNA of what we do and what we look at is all being held up there. Our DNA, our footprints are out in the cloud. Now this has implications for us. Our hiring managers and we all want to obsessively know about our audience, where the best talent are and what they're doing. This is not about looking at your talent on Facebook and then taking a decision whether you want to interview them. It's about knowing where that best talent is, learning about them, how to target them, and really using that personal data up in the cloud. Now, what sort of things we know already being done? We know that when we go to Amazon out there, is that based on the books and the videos that we look at, we get recommendations based on those trends. We know in iTunes, based on what we listen and buy, etc., we get playlists referred back to us. That's about using the data about what we're looking at and we're doing. And this is true out there in recruitment. Now, yes, the key thing to remember here, there are issues about personal data. There are issues about ethical natures, privacy laws, etc., and we've seen that in California. But the drive to know about our people out there is going to be key. We know that we can hold up an iPhone now and sit in the bar and it will tell us the music that's being played and who that is. The technology's there. They'll be able to use your mobile and walk out and take a picture of someone and it could link back to their LinkedIn profile or their Facebook profile. Now, the interesting thing, yes, we got the ethical and privacy debates, but this whole personal data issue in the cloud is going to be one of the things that affects us in recruitment. Now, as we move forward, the candidates are going to have the easiest job in the world in terms of profiling their skills and experience and their wants, and it's going to be able to profile and take them the best jobs which are most relevant. They're just going to almost sit there and get them presented to them on a plate. For us as companies, we're going to get profile candidates, behaviorally scanned, maybe psychologically evaluated based on traits. What do you mean about psychologically evaluated? There's technology there now. Look at Tweet Psych. Now, this is based, technology on Twitter based on looking at your last 500 or 1,000 tweets. And it actually looks for things like bad language, what you're saying, who you interact with, etc. And it builds up a psychological profile. And these are things that, whilst privacy issues remain, our managers want us to understand who we're hiring, where they're coming from, etc. And that's going to be key because we don't want to make mishires. This is all quite confusing, interesting stuff, and the paper goes into it more and gives you some more of those ideas on the whole predictive profiling and occupational psychology. But that's going to be key of people looking at.
There are also online education institutions that are seeking to democratize education, and they're also applying principles of gamification to the way people learn. Which will be interesting to see is not only will these companies be able to say, or these online education institutions to say, this person earned an A or a 3-point whatever, they'll be able to evaluate the different traits of these people to say, hey, in these online communities, they did really well at collaborating, teamwork, they took a lot of initiative, oh, they didn't work well with others. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and these companies come to play into recruiting.
So this brings us to another area. We talk, and Ted's going to love this, Ted Mellencamp from Roche, about the global war for the top talent. We know there's shortages out there. We know we're competing. We know the experienced talent pool is getting smaller. What does this mean for our businesses? It means that our companies want to get to that talent quicker. So how do they do that? They start to build the predictive pipelines of graduates in the future and build that talent. So this means putting together potentially company universities, company academies, company qualifications, company training schemes, which really start to nurture all those skills, particularly the soft skills, the team skills, the presentation skills, the leadership skills that often graduates don't have when they come into the marketplace. So will companies start to try and clone their own candidates for the future and set up these various schemes? Now, we all, as recruiters, my dad says a bad workman blames their tools. We all blame our ATS. We can't get there. The data's in different areas. It doesn't work and it doesn't match the candidates up. So what's happening out there? The technology may not be working, etc. for us. So will we see the death of the ATS? I'm sure that some of you will give a big cheer to that. And what sort of things are happening? We look at talent pipeline and we say, do we need an ATS? Can we use this? Will this replace our need for an ATS and we can turn it off in the future? And these are big issues that we debate quite daily.
There's also the death of the resume. Online profiles are dynamic, and people are updating them even if they're not looking for a job, whereas they're not updating their resume if they're not looking for a job. So we've already seen this, that resumes are starting to go by the wayside, but will they eventually, or how long, until they're ultimately all gone?
So as we look at how we differentiate ourselves, let's be honest about employment brands. Look at the messaging out there. All the companies are saying, we're unique. We have a great culture. We work hard, we play hard, blah, blah, blah. But it's all the same. How can a candidate differentiate if they're looking at 10 companies when we're all saying the same? It's just then reverts back to who has the sexiest product. But it's again, how do we actually start to get noticed? Those companies that are medium-sized or smaller, etc., want to be noticed. So what can they do? Augmented reality. Now, augmented reality, different from virtual reality. Virtual reality is just working and operating within computer-generated environments. Augmented reality is about using virtual reality technology, but bringing it into the real world. Marketing and advertising and using this to our advantage to let candidates have a real insight and a real passion of our companies. And there is a lot of potential for, as we move forward, that we'll be all demonstrated in the next LinkedIn conference in 5 years, all the augmented reality campaigns that we're putting together. But we also have to look at getting out there and getting noticed, getting disruption marketing out into the... So we see that it's all about disruption. Amy said we love our flash mobs. But marketing has to be like that. Disrupt, go with the flow, go with something a bit different. Stunt PR. And have a look at the papers, and we put some more ideas into that. So as you look at that, is that we see the personal data in the cloud. We see crowdsourcing. We see the new technologies. The job of a recruiter will become so much easier. Will we need recruiters in the future? Can our hiring managers actually do it themselves? And these are issues that you guys can debate down by the pool party tonight, and step by step we'll be there. So what are the key takeaways? So whatever, for me, goes on in Vegas, stays in Vegas, baby. Aha, yay!
But what we really want is you to take things away from this presentation, take them from Vegas. The 3 key takeaways we want you to remember is nurture your employment brand. It's built from the inside. Be real, ensure you truly have a great place to work, and be honest in your communications. Social media matters. It's not going away. Build communities, engage with people, be authentic. And then finally, innovate, challenge the status quo, and take risks. That's the only way we're going to move things forward. Don't be afraid to try new things. If it doesn't work, recognize that, change direction, but take some risks.
So the key things that we need to remember, and we'll wrap up on this, we really need to celebrate what we as recruiters, talent acquisition experts do. What we do can really make or break a business. If we hire mediocre talent, we know that business is going down the pan. if we hire the best product marketers, the best salespeople, the best technical leads, we know that that's going to be a great company and that's going to be reflected in the bottom line. We are not the poorer cousin of HR. We make a real difference in terms of what talent acquisition does. So let's celebrate what we do. If you'd all like to stand up and high-five the person next to you and give yourself a round of applause, you make a business. Whoa. Make that change. Thank you very much. Way.
Thanks, everybody.
Wow.